What is up, Ravens Flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in everyone to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. And in this episode, we're going to give you the most recent update from head coach John Harbaugh on all your Ravens players that are fighting back from injury. Some that have been dealing with things heading back to last season, and some more current and more recent. So, but before we get into that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and of course, click the notification bell so we can keep you up to date on all your Ravens news. But Jimbo, Coach was he let us know on a bunch of players that we're waiting on. The Ravens fans are kind of chomping at the bit to see some of their favorite players back on the field. Where should we start on his injury update?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. I want to kind of predate his injury update real quick, and people already know this, but I want to give reactions. He's my favorite Raven. Of course, Gus, which we kind of saw this coming, but Gus is going to miss at least 4 games. I don't know why I thought it was 6. It's 4 games.
I think that's been modified. The first, I thought originally Pup was 6. Yeah.
So either way, Gus is going to miss at least 4 games, and we're going to hope he continues to get better, because I certainly think when you start to look at that running back room, it gets a little nervous, and you kind of mentioned it, starts to make you think of that running back room last year, really, if you remove Gus and JK. So let's hope for a speedy recovery for Gus. Hope he gets back.
But think how cool this is, Jimbo. It's like getting trading for a super talented running back in week 6 or whenever he ends up getting back, because he's going to have some practice ramp up time. But it's like you're trading for a great running back midseason.
And the other exciting thing, the season goes on, the games get more grueling, it gets colder, the weather gets worse, and guess what? Our running backs get stronger every week, right? Like, as they continue to heal, him and JK, every week they get stronger and stronger. They get their rhythm back. Let's hope for continued health on that. So I think that's another, optimistic way of looking at the situation with these two guys. But where I want to start, Glenn, is maybe the most important position, and that's at left tackle. So talk to me about Ronnie Stanley.
Yeah, right now, Ronnie Stanley's still working his way back. Coach Harbaugh wasn't willing to rule out a week 1 start from Ronnie Stanley, but time is certainly running out for him to return to practice and have enough time to prepare himself for the season. And so while Coach isn't ready to rule him out, Jimbo, I think I'm starting to get there, Jimbo. I mean, how can this guy be ready to take on? I mean, you're talking about an NFL, defensive end. This isn't like he's going out to, to block me or you here, Jimbo. This is maybe the most talented and overall athletic, like physically gifted position in football might be the edge position. Like just 6'5", just insanely big and athletic and strong. So I think Stanley's going to need a little bit more than the time he has currently remaining to get himself ready. So I think we have to start getting used to seeing Juwan James at left tackle to start the year.
Well, and this is no knock on Juwan James at all, but let me just tell you this. There's no way around it. This sucks. This sucks so bad, because this to me is the domino, the one of the last dominoes and the most major domino on the offensive line to really make this offense hum, right? And everyone talks about the 3, obviously Lamar. Everyone talks about the running backs and the 3-headed monster and the tight ends. But let's not forget how ridiculously good that offensive line was in 2019. All pro at left tackle, Hall of Famer at right guard. Like, we got some vets on the line there as well. So, man, and then obviously another guy at right tackle that was a Pro Bowler, in Orlando Brown, your favorite player, of course. But at the end of the day, that is what we need to duplicate, right? That up front. So that makes me really scary, and that is a punch to the gut, Glenn, because I hope you're wrong. I hope with all I have that you are wrong, but I'm starting to fear that you are right. There's no way around it.
I mean, realistically, what type of practice time would he need?
So that's the thing. Let me just try and throw something at you, and I'm holding on by the skin of my teeth. Okay. So, like, Coach did also mention, I'm reading through the tea leaves here, that he's been looking really good. He's working out really hard. His cardio, he's been going really hard. The only thing, obviously, not the only thing, but the things that he hasn't been doing, he knows the system. Obviously, he's played under the system for a while now. So really what he's missing is just that validation that the ankle can withstand. and then he can hit some guys. So like if he's in the cardiovascular shape because he's not lacking mobility because he's so far out from the surgery at this point, like how long does it actually take to, if you're in the cardiovascular shape and that's not an issue, how long does it take? If 3 weeks isn't ideal, I'm going to hold my breath for one more week.
Well, the opening day is the 13th, right? And today is the 24th. Oh, the 11th.
Yeah, the 11th.
For the Ravens?
For the Ravens, Sunday the 11th.
Okay, so you're talking about less than 3 weeks.
Yes, right. So that's what I'm saying. I realize it's under ideal, which is kind of what John talked about, the ideal 3 weeks. But he left the door open.
He left the door open.
So I'm going to hold on to that.
Okay.
With all I got.
All right. Well, John also talks about the callousing that your body needs to go through in order to prepare for a season. I just find it hard to believe that Ronnie can build up those physical calluses in less than 3 weeks.
But this is the only thing, though, that I'll say to counter that. How much can you actually do that in season now with like the limited padded practices and the, you know what I mean? So even once the season gets rolling, how much can you actually do that once training camp is over? Because it's so limited what you do in practice.
Exactly.
But
that makes it
trickier.
Yeah, exactly. So he's not even going to have the opportunity.
Throw him to the Wolves. Just throw him to the Wolves.
Just get him out there.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned about Ronnie, but
I feel you.
He's kind of in the same boat as another guy, defensive edge player, Tyus Bowser. Everybody remembers hurt his Achilles, I believe it was. Was it the Achilles in the final game of the season last year? And so it looks like, while Ronnie, it's hard to know what is Ronnie behind schedule? To me, he's behind schedule because he didn't play all last season and he didn't play the second half of the season before. So to me, Ronnie looks to be behind schedule, whereas Tyus Bowser looks like he's ahead of schedule. Just, I think it's still going to be cutting it close for week one. And Coach Harbaugh wasn't willing to rule him out, but he's got to get back to practice soon in order to get ready for the game. But the good news there is there's at least, I wouldn't say there's certainly a drop off from Tyus Bowser to his replacements. The drop off is not as severe and the position isn't as important as Ronnie Stanley. So I think the Ravens can allow Tyus Bowser to work his way back and not feel that urgency and that pressure to even think about rushing Tyus Bowser back. What's your thoughts on Tyus?
Yeah, I think Tyus is destined for pup. I just don't see any way he gets back. And I'm not as concerned about it as I am with Ronnie. And I know that outside linebacker group is nothing to write home about, but I'm just not as concerned at this point about that group as I am about Ronnie. So I'm not trying to view a silver lining here. The silver lining is that he's already ahead of schedule. Let's not rush it. And let's make sure that when he gets back, he's ready to go. We're like, once again with Ronnie, I'm chomping at the bit here because it's been almost 2 whole seasons, right, since we've seen Ronnie Stanley in action. So let's get him back out there. But with Tyus, I think he's going to end up on pup. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and why not? You don't want to rush anybody back.
Right, but on a positive note, I do also want to mention another guy who came back to practice while the Ravens were out in Arizona, and that is our projected starting center. Our what was that? The 25th, 23rd pick. Tyler Linderbaum, of course, has been back at practice. The O-line coach was talking about him, how his leadership and vote, his ability to make calls on the line is improving every day. So I'm expecting him week 1. You?
Week 1. Yeah, I expect him to be in there week 1. I'm very encouraged that he got back to practice, expected to take on a full workload today. So again, limited media presence in practice. So it's going to be tough to hear much coming out of there other than who's in attendance and who's not. But yeah, encouraged to see that it wasn't a severe foot injury, just got stepped on and they were being relatively precautionary. Thank goodness he was here for every other part of the offseason program. And let's just hope that the time he missed late in training camp, he made up for that ahead of time with being in everything and not missing any OTAs or anything like that. So yeah, it's big time. We need him out there. Now my question is this, Jimbo, if Tyler is there, who do you start at left tackle?
If Tyler Linderbaum's there, who do I, because of the McCary effect, if you will?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a great question. I think it's probably still Juwan.
Okay.
I think he's got the wingspan, he's got the athleticism, he's just so much more athletically superior
Isn't everybody to McCary?
Right. As I'm saying, no knock, right? But
he just finds a way. I tell you what, who do you think has the lower floor and who has the high? So it sounds like James has the higher ceiling, but don't you think McCary has the lower floor?
Certainly. Yeah. Definitely. I definitely agree with that 100%. And
I higher floor, I should say.
Yeah, right. But I knew what you meant. I think everybody at home did as well. Shout out to Mike Davis, just really quickly. I don't know if you saw this, but just had a tweet. He had a daughter, Kemma Davis. This tweet was an hour ago. So quick aside, shout out to the Davis family. Big props. It's always awesome to be a dad. So shout out. All right. Back to the news. So what do you think? Do you agree with me, Juwan James, or are you going with McCary week 1?
I agree with you. I don't think we've seen enough of McCary at left tackle. It looks like the Ravens are expecting it to be Juwan James because he's getting so many reps. I think if they were nervous about it, we'd see more of McCary at left.
Fair enough. I think that's a great point. So we're riding with Juwan James and going to hope that we never see him out there because we see Ronnie Stanley. All right. So we've talked about these guys. Who else we got on the list as far as an injury update? Oh, Travis Jones.
Big one. Yeah, Travis Jones, of course. Everyone was bummed to see him go down. I believe it around the 8-minute mark of the last preseason game. And some people scratching their head wondering why he was still in that game when it looks like he's already shown he's ready to go Sundays. But he did go down, hyperextended his knee. They said it's nothing serious. In fact, Harbaugh said that this is an injury that happens quite often in the sport. And said it could be anywhere from a 3 to 5 week absence. So while it's not serious, you're still talking about 3 to 5 weeks, and every week is important in the NFL. So how big of a blow is this?
It's going to be 5 weeks. It's funny because I do the same thing. It's an old sales tactic when you go, it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6. And people anchor on 3. Right. But you're like, it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. By the time you're done, you're at 8. Right. So I think it's going to be 5 weeks. I think it's a big bummer. Now we do have the depth there. Yeah. So I'm not super concerned on a major performance drop. But this guy is going to be such a pivotal part of our defense. And I'm just so excited to see him out there that I just want to see him now and don't want to have to wait. That said, get him healthy, get him raring to go. I hope that's less than 5, but he's a big boy, a lot of pressure on that knee. Yeah. So give him the 5 weeks. I think is what it ends up being. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I want to see this guy. The only thing that bums me out, Jimbo, is that his progression and his this season is going to be slightly stunted for a little while. That's the only thing that bums me out because the guy I still can't believe he got to the 3rd round.
It's incredible.
He wins every pass rush battle, it seems like, that's put in front of him. So can't wait to see him against some level 1, tier 1 starters in the league. So get yourself healthy, Travis Jones. Is there anybody else that we're missing that needs to be discussed?
Gus, we covered Ronnie, we covered Tyus, we covered Linderbaum, and we covered Jones. There's nothing that comes to my mind right now.
Oh, one thing I will say, if you are a Patreon member, then shout out, appreciate the support.
Oh, yeah, good point.
DK just put up a brand new article today. I just read through it. Fantastic, of course. If you aren't a Patreon member, there's going to be a
tease. Give us a tease, Glenn.
Yeah, well, it's referring to the current negotiations with Lamar and the team, and he proposed a very unique contract that Lamar could be seeking, and it could be a way to kind of circumvent part of the cap. So it's just an interesting way of kind of an out of the box, using the Tom Brady tampering issues with the Dolphins as kind of inspiration. But I thought it was, of course, very well written, and it's an interesting idea. So check it out. If you're not a Patreon member, it could cost as little as $1 a month. And we are about to have renewed focus, and we're going to commit, certainly a lot to making sure we reward those Patreon members.
Absolutely. Yeah. So go check it out. The link is in the description below as always, or just go to Patreon and look us up at 410 Sports Talk. Download the app too on your phone. So, also, and we're going to be live tomorrow night.
Yeah. Exciting guest.
Otherwise. So, yeah. And we got an awesome guest. So we're going to go live after interviewing an exciting guest for you guys. We're not going to tell you who it is now. You'll have to wait and see. Make sure you turn on your notifications, hit the subscribe button, and give us a like. But without anything else, have a great night, and we'll talk to you guys soon.